Badger Beer Report, Brewery Report here. I'm Greg. Nice to meet you. And I am here with Ryan from Brewery Nonic and Menomonie. Did I say that right,
You
Ryan?
did indeed. Yep.
Yeah. I'm here
Harmony.
with Ryan. He's the owner of Brewery Nonic. I visited there at this point during the recording a couple months ago. We'll get into that. But Brewery Nonic is one of the craft brewers in Menomonie. And Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That's great. For people who are unfamiliar with Nonic and you, let's just start with your history. So you've been in the beer industry, I believe my notes say since 2009, and you started at home brewing at 21. Can we confirm that?
Yes. Yeah. I started homebrewing like 2005, 4 or 5, somewhere around in there. Homebrewed for however many years, and
Yeah.
just randomly I sent a bunch of resumes out to a bunch of local breweries up in the area, and I heard back from one, and that was Rush River in River Falls. So I went
Wow.
there and started. Basically, I cleaned kegs for a year, and then moved up to other things and bottling line and etc. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, could you tell us about the journey from your initial homebrew passion, which I kind of heard a little bit, to your professional career, and was there a defining moment or realization that you wanted to open your own brewery? Because respectfully, on some level, that's kind of crazy, but we can get to that in a second.
You're not wrong.
Opening your brewery now, before then, to me, as I love breweries, but there's a level of, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
craziness
absolutely.
with y'all. There really is. But is there a defining moment of realization that you led to opening your brewery after, um, you know, after having positive experiences, that I heard already?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I mean, like a great deal of uh, professional brewers or brewery owners, blah blah. You start home brewing. I was just kind of, I don't know. I just wondered one day. I remember, like, how do you make beer? That it's kind of sounds interesting. So I looked it up and had no idea that there was that, like, yeah, like home brewing is a thing, and there's even stores where you can go and buy all this stuff, to make beer. So I was like, well, I want to do that. Um, and I don't know. I've always been interested in, I guess, creating things. Before beer, I was very interested and involved with music. So I loved the whole process of creating a song and building it and see how it kind of evolves. And I guess early on, that was kind of part of the rewarding thing with homebrewing, is that you take all these steps to create a thing that hopefully will someday exist and will be good. And it's very rewarding when that would happen. Um, and so I remember just saying that, um, I mean, I didn't really, it seemed to me like it was really hard to get into the industry. So I was just kind of homebrewing for a few years and almost went to brewing school in Chicago. And then wound up I didn't. I came back to Menomonie uh, at that point, and I read an article somewhere that the founder of New Glarus, that Dan Carey, went to school for food science. And so I was like, well, I've worked in food in the past, so that sounds fun. So I went to school for food science. I got my degree, and then at that point, uh, got my got my industry start at Rush River 2009. And I really like the culture. Um, I mean, that was kind of the main thing. Is like it I really liked the supportive and uh, community feel of it all.
Yeah. You're justifying my questions because this is great. Because my second question is, you're a UW Stout alumni
I
with
am.
a good degree in food systems and technology. How
Yep.
has your academic background, particularly in food science, directly influenced your brewing philosophy as we move slowly into Nonic beers?
Yeah. Well, the science aspect of it, I have always found really. It was. I, I mean, kind of. I loved learning what on a microorganism, on a molecular, et cetera, scale, what's happening in food when it gets cooked or when it gets processed, or why you add this or and that, like, I mean, translates obviously right into beer. Uh, and it you sort of look at it with, instead of like uh, instead of like early on, I remember it kind of seeing it as like as a, I guess, as a craft. You see it both still as that, but also really with this like with a slightly better understanding of what's happening in the beer and why you do uh, XYZ. And also when you read about things, like, oh, there's a new process for this or that, or uh, it helps to sort of understand uh, why that happens, or why, I guess, what is actually happening, and why they're uh, I guess why they're introducing a new way of, whatever it is, dry hopping or no boil or blah blah blah. So
Yeah. Yeah, and as you know, beer is food. So then there's that. But also though, I found, this is my personal anecdotal evidence, y'all. This is not backed by science, but I find that the brewers that embrace science the most have the better beers. That's just me. I'm just saying.
yep,
So
sure,
there's
yep,
that. There's also, there's definitely a cooking element of it, clearly, and a culinary element of it, clearly, and that's why beers pair so well with food, because they're both food.
yep,
But there's also that wonderful, science element that you have accented in the beers. So that is great. Brewery Nonic is known for its focus on English and UK styles and ales, and that's what I loved so much about when I walked into y'all place and what y'all had. What drew you here, Ryan? What do you believe, and also what do you believe that makes English styles? I read somewhere that you said that you believe that they're unrepresented here in America. And yeah, what do you believe makes them unrepresented and special? And also, why is Brewery Nonic drawn to these styles?
yeah. So it's somewhat of a roundabout uh, path, I guess, but in high school, I became really uh, sort of infatuated with a lot of kind of older British uh, humor. So I found things like things like Monty Python and
Yeah,
Faulty
yeah,
Towers and Red
yeah,
Dwarf and
yeah.
all this stuff. And I was like, man, I like some. There's a part of me that really identifies with this kind of humor. And then as I started, uh, you watch more shows and you watch travel shows from going over there, and like over the years, I was like, man, like I feel for some reason really drawn to that sort of uh, idealized uh, like neighborhood English pub out in in like a small village that sort of, and the idea of the pub being the public house, kind of the community's living room, uh, where people, it's not work and it's not home, but it's that third place that that where you go and you see folks and you talk about things, and where kind of how important that can be to a community. Um, and then, so of course, being into beer, then uh, I was like, well, I need to find what these British ales are like. And there's a few spots in Minneapolis that do cask beer. And I would find uh, at the time, years ago, a good friend of mine was like the beer, wine, and spirits manager for a place in Eau Claire called the Coffee Grounds, and they bring in all kinds of stuff from like all over the world. And I was like, dude,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
you like I need English beers, whatever you can find. He's like, oh, I'll try. And then as I got, I guess, more uh, as I became as I got to understand beer and learn more about, I guess as I got better at making it, I really.
At this point, while recording, we had technical difficulties. So now we will resume our interview with Ryan Verdon, owner and brewer at Brewery Nonic in Menomonie, Wisconsin. I think the last question was, y'all known for your English and UK style. So where'd that come from? And the last thing I heard you say was that, you went through where you were talking about, you got the, you were involved, basically, for lack of a better word, you were involved, you got yourself involved in the culture of the UK when you were young, with the
Yes.
TV shows and what you could be, what we could be exposed to. And that kind of just led to you further, just, it sounded like, being interested in that culture. And then the beer came, obviously beer is a big part of, what they do, what they've been doing, what they've done, their whole culture. So, yeah, I don't know. So,
Yeah, I can start from there.
yeah. So actually, again, after the technical difficulties, y'all, I just want to ask Ryan this one, and you were already here, so let's just jump in, because again, while I love your story, Ryan, it's a really great story. What I really love, most about y'all is your beer, and we're definitely going to hit that. And Nonic uses cask ale pretty hard there, and y'all serve beer at slightly warmer temperatures, especially in the cask, 55 to 50. And you can talk about that, whether I'm right or wrong, please. Make sure you fact check me here, please. But can you explain the benefits of this approach, and how it enhances the flavor and experience of your English style beers and just English style beers in general? Because I don't think a lot of people we're normalized to drink our beer as cold as possible. Hell, some people put ice in their beer; they want it that crisp.
Right.
Yeah, but we all know, if anybody who knows anything about the history of beer, we know that Germans love to serve their beer a little bit, sometimes at a little bit of high temperature. We're I know Americans are familiar with, quote, letting your stout warm up before you really try it, kind of thing. So yeah, just speak on the whole cast engine, please, and why is it important to Nonic?
Yeah, love to. That guy was uh, saying, it's since I really discovered that A, I really enjoyed it, and B, I just didn't really, it was incredibly hard to find. Um, so I knew that I wanted to do cask, and I wanted to put all like a lot of time and effort into really executing it, quote unquote, right. Um, Also, over the years, I've learned that um, it becomes most important to sort of do what's right for the beer that you're making, as opposed to sticking uh, uh, un you know un uh, as opposed to unbendably um, adhering to, like, no, I need to make beer exactly how it is over there. Um, so it became sort of that at first, and then I just learned that, like, I mean, A, that's not really possible, um, and B, that why that it's I think it's better if I make cask ale that is representative of here. um, so using American ingredients, ideally everything from Wisconsin. Really try to make those beers be kind of as uh, I guess local um, as we can, and a lot of you know, um, what I find is most interesting about cask in my years of experimenting and developing how I do it, is that it not all beers work well on cask. um, at least I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but what you get uh, when you have beer slightly warmer, I mean, obviously it's not warm, but it's just not as cold. And ours is right around 52. Um, but a lot of those sort of subtleties that I'm a fan of, in malt, hops, yeast, all that, really shine through a lot, as opposed to the beer being really, really cold. Um, and that kind of is related to the carbonation aspect of it as well, in that a lot of, I mean, you can serve beer through cask with with what's called a sparkler on the end of the cask spout, um, or you can not. So if you use it, then it takes on that kind of nitro beer thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we, yeah, and we use the sparklers, um, because when you sort of more firmly knock that CO2 out, you get that really nice fine foam, uh, almost nitro like head on it, but also that the CO2, the carbonic acid, um, isn't kind of interfering as well with all of the little nuances of the beer. And so, it, like in my experience, a more subtly flavored beer works really well on cask than a more bold beer. Uh, Years ago, I ran off a pin worth of our milk stout, and I put that on in a cask, and it was too big, too much body, too much roast, too much everything. That was just kind of me, I guess, experimenting to confirm, uh, you know, results I'd had in the past. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you really have to, uh, I guess, nurture those along. Um, and it makes sense within our general philosophy as well of keeping beer under our control. Um, so it allows us to really, serve that beer when it should be and how it should be as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's fun. No one ever, not no one, but the people behind on the other side of the bar. It's kind of hard for us to see the trial and error going on. We just see the finished product, and we're like, "Wow, this is great."
Sure.
But there's always steps in there. Yeah, right. Ryan's like, "Hold on, this isn't easy. This isn't." I mean, not that you say it wasn't easy, but there's trial and error to this. How about that? For sure.
Oh yeah, there absolutely is.
So, I'm not asking you your favorite beer here, but I just would like to know, can you name me one beer that Nonic has pouring right now? And just tell us a little bit about what you like about it. This one.
Yeah. Man. I mean, I would say that's a toss up between our new Doppelbock and
Then do two. It's fine.
yeah. I mean, I would say so. Um, One thing I like doing is I like trying to research, and it's not really possible, but it's fun. To like, I remember when I was first getting into beer, I really liked Bass. And I was like, well, I wonder how Bass was made or what it was like a long time ago. And so you sort of like try and do research in whatever way that you can and find like here's some guy who worked there was interviewed and said that the malts were like this or the hops were these and they were whole cone hops and blah blah. And so we have a English pub ale that's on right now, that kind of is modeled after what, as close as I felt like I could get to what Bass was like, you know, I, I think, I think it was like in the 50s that most of the like information is from. But so that one I really like. It's only 4.6 ABV, which is even a little bit high for a lot of cask beers, I think. But um, yeah, I mean that one is just like um, sort of made to more of a traditional English, like trying to just be like go for as best as I could get to like how they did it. So it's like floor malted Maris Otter, and then like a splash of dark. I forget if it was black barley, maybe just for color. Um, yeah, I mean, I'd say that one is probably the one that I've been drinking most.
That sounds like a fun one. That sounds like a fun one. Um, yeah. So, one of the unique things about Nonic, y'all, is that Nonic is located in a beautifully renovated historic railroad depot. What was the appeal of the specific building, Ryan, and how do you feel history contributes to the overall ambiance and experience at your brewery?
Yeah. So the building was basically uh, offered to me. I was at the time fairly happy making beer for. I mean, working for somebody else. Um, Clock in and then clock out. Yada yada. But I just kind of always thought that if I ever opened my own, I'd want to do it in a important or in a unique and interesting spot. Um, because having worked at places that can or bottle and really have to, in order to pay your bills, you have to make us, volumes of beer and sell it and hustle and move and all that, and I'm like, um, I wanted to make a place, I guess, a destination, but not in like a big way, just kind of uh, a small brewery that meant something to the community and helps out. And this old railroad depot had been sitting for a long time, and there's so much history still in it. And when it was offered to me, I walked through it, and of course, I knew that it would be a huge task to restore it, and it was, and it was. But I knew that if you're going to do it uh, in a spot like that, um, and that's played a big role. I mean, like you, if you're, I mean, it's harder and harder to find space on shelves for beer for all the different brands and places to sell your beer on tap. And like I just uh, I wanted to be able to control every aspect of our beer and have a place that is interesting and fun for people to come and hang out.
Yeah, and that leads me to your previous before we had technical difficulties. You were talking about this, but I had it on my list. You've emphasized that Nonic aims to offer a unique experience for customers. Often liken it to the community living room, which you said before,
Yes. Yep.
feel of an English pub, and beyond the excellent beer, in my opinion, what specific elements and aspects contribute to that unique, memorable visits, and how do you foster that sense of community within your tap room?
Well, um, I think a lot of um, to be, I guess, to be weirdly philosophical. I mean, not weirdly philosophical, but you know, I do genuinely believe in the old adage of uh, the energy that you put out to the world is kind of what comes back. Or is it the Beatles? The love you make is equal to the love you take. The love you take is equal to the love you make. Something like that. But yeah, you know, like, for me, it's I mean, beer is what I do, and it's what like if people come in and they have a great experience, like if the beer is even reasonable, but they had a great experience and they met folks and they chatted about things with the staff and it's welcoming and I mean that I think is um, the most valuable thing, and that kind of is like it, I I've thought for for a lot of years about like owning my own business, and I didn't know years ago if it would be brewery. I was into food. I am still. So like maybe I don't know. I'll open a restaurant and like I guess a big part of that was I wanted to create a culture through something, and in this case, it just happened to be beer. And I, there's a quote on the side of our cans uh, that I truly believe in. That's like, I, I, why we love beer is that it's it's a natural purveyor of socialization uh, and um, sort of play has historically um, played a part in bringing people together where into communities where we can learn and grow uh, together. And that I think is the kind of place that I've always dreamed about. Um, and I think that in particular in a college town that has had a number of, I guess, maybe negative incidents related to alcohol. Um, there is, I think there's something to be said about being a part of changing the culture, about how we drink, um, and the place, the building, the historic aspect of it, and what it means to the town. I think made a lot of sense that that would be a place to, I guess, to achieve that goal.
Yeah, and you answered this question and the previous one too about again just doing. I love when breweries take something that's historic and that's just sitting there and make it their own and make it a community place and um which leads me to my final question for you, or it's actually going to be a story or not, but I rolling up to as a minority sometimes it's just not. Sometimes there are places where I roll into that I definitely don't feel welcome, or I don't feel that I gotta just keep my head around on my swivel a little bit just to keep it clean, y'all. And Brewery
Sure.
Nonic was not it at all. When I walked in, I felt uh greeted by whoever was behind the bar. That person was great. And it was just a really, pulling up. I was the only one in here, in there at the point, pulling up at the seat. It was just really, really, just having a welcoming environment. Sometimes people are like, well, what does a welcome environment feel like? It's just a feeling, y'all. So sometimes it's
Yeah, right.
literally a feeling. And y'all's, I already knew that I was, I had people tell me to come and experience y'all, but and those people would never lead me to a place to where I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, it just really gave me a nice feeling. Again, I love old renovated places. You spoke a little bit about how difficult it was, and I'm sure permits and building things and things where y'all want them, and I mean all kinds of things happen. But whatever y'all did a really good job, because again, it's really really nice
Thank you.
place. So leading into my last question, y'all, for Ryan, I got a little story to tell. So when I went to Brewery Nonic, y'all, I pulled up and like I said, sat down. The barkeep was excellent. And I had a nice flight. And then when that person realized that that I was with Badger Beer Report or whatever, it was just a conversation piece. I don't ever lead with that, y'all. I just I'm just there observing, and in fact I really don't want you to know that I'm with a brewery entity, because I don't want to be treated any differently than anybody else. I just want to see what y'all got, and how it flows. So after I explained who I was a little bit, they were like, hey, try here's a couple more to try, so you could at least get a good feel of who we are. And I was like, man, especially the Castells, those are so anyway, y'all, I on the way out of Nonic, I was like, man, I want this black ale. So I got the black ale to go. So I was headed to Minneapolis at that time, y'all. If for people who follow Badger Beer Report, you probably remember that it was a weekend I went to go see Kendrick Lamar in Minneapolis, and so I stopped at Nonic on the way in there. So grabbed, had a great time at Nonic, and my family was waiting in the car. So I was like, I didn't spend that much time at Nonic, but I spent enough time to know that y'all's beers are excellent. I absolutely love them. So I was like, I'm gonna take this black ale home. I wasn't even planning to take any beer home. So we get to Minneapolis where we were staying, and my son was like, yo, something's going on with your beer, because there's a wet spot there and it wasn't water. And I was like, wait, what? So then by the time we pulled the beer into where we were, y'all, all 4 cans were kind of like leaking. So I was like, whoa, that's kind of weird. So then what I did was, y'all, on my personal account, I went over and I was like, oh, I'll just send, I was just there, so I'll just send them a note and see what they say. You know what I mean? And I didn't even like Brewery Nonic, so I had to like Brewery Nonic to even send a message, because I wasn't ever there. So I was like, whoa, let me like this. So y'all, by the time that I liked the page and I sent Brewery Nonic a message, it was less than 5 minutes that that I was fully refunded. Less than 5 minutes. I explained to them what the problem was. I had a little picture, and they were like, oh man, we're sorry about that. I don't know if it was Ryan or not. He can explain his side of this once I'm done babbling. But I was like, yo, y'all, this is up. And whoever responded was like, oh no, we're sorry for that. We will refund you. How'd you pay? We will refund you immediately. And you need to come in and get another 4-pack, because we just feel, you went out of your way to come see us, all that. And I was like, no, I'm cool. Like, as long as I get my money back, I'm cool. And then whoever it was, I guess it was Ryan, but we'll figure that out right now. But Ryan, whoever it was like, no, you need to come on Monday and get your 4-pack. And I was like, wait, you're not even open. What are you what's going on? And you're like, no, we'll be here. Someone will be here for you. Come and get your beer, because we feel a certain way. So before I get to Ryan on all this, I just want to say that, like, for the record, this is how customer service is, y'all. This is what good customer service looks like. And it's not something that we all feel a lot of times, whether breweries or whether it's anywhere at this point. Customer service, in my opinion, this is my opinion, y'all, it's just fell off since we were younger. Whoever, however old you were, it's just fell off. And to have this level of customer service like this deemed out to me, where I didn't have to fight with anybody, or I didn't have to prove it or any of that, and y'all just had my money back before I even sat down, after I even messaged you, was just really impressive, Ryan. Also though, again, it just really stood out about how customer service, especially from a brewery, was just really excellent. There's been times where we've, Ryan, you've heard exploding bottles, all kinds of different things, and people, address the brewery, and then the brewery doesn't want to answer or respond. I've heard of people not getting responses. I've heard of people being, oh, well, that's what happens. I've heard all kinds of different excuses instead of, hey, we'll give you your money back. And now, again, I understand all, if, y'all have a whole batch that's doing it, and that's a lot of money, but that's not on the customer, y'all, and that's not the customer's fault. Okay. Okay, so we shouldn't have to be worried about opening our beer and having it explode on us in any kind of situation, whether we're home alone, whether we're at a party. I mean, that's just not good, period. And it's not necessarily something that a brewery doesn't look to have exploding cans or exploding things. That's not so no one's saying there's negativity, but at the same time, that's not should be on the consumer, y'all. We're just trying to support and help and all that. So I don't know if there's a question in there, Ryan, but I just wanted to applaud y'all for and your great customer service. And again, as I said on social media, maybe not out, but I said it to a certain people, like you know if Nonic had bad beer, I would suspect that I wouldn't got my money back. But the fact that Nonic has bad beer means that, like, just across the board, I think y'all get it business wise, from the beer, from the experience, from the customer service, all those things. Usually a brewery has them all, not just one, if that makes sense. So shout out to y'all for just good customer service and just
Thank you.
having a great welcoming place. And these are things that you grow to. I don't feel, some of them are just, good customer service is different. I mean, to me, that's just good humanity generally speaking. But yeah, I don't know if you want to speak to your customer service or just customer service in general, Ryan, or if there's anything I said there that was that you behind the Facebook page? What's going on here, Ryan?
It was me. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I have my alerts on for like all the uh, business socials and whatnot, and I mean, just goes back to being like like, even if the beer's good, I mean, that's one thing, but like it has to be about, it's got to be about experience. um and it has to be about you know creating and building that community of positivity and honesty. And I mean, when that stuff happens, it sucks, but like you absolutely need to make it right. Oh, here comes my son. Daddy? Yeah. I'm on snack. Okay. And so I mean, that is really the most important thing to us. It are the people, because that all is a part of the whole experience of the beer and the place and the and the whole thing.
Well, you need people to buy your beer, and yes, people are the social engine around beer. And that's
Right.
yeah, that's just excellent. That you understand that. But yeah, so Ryan, it's been fun. It's been great. Any basically we could find Brewery Nonic anywhere, right? I mean, as far as like, the socials and via Google and stuff like that, right?
Yep. Yeah, we update the Facebook and Instagram all the time with new beers, new events, all that stuff. The website has an events calendar on it, with everything on there. Yeah.
And anything you would like to anything coming up in the near term, because this will be coming out late June 2025. Anything coming up that anniversary parties, anything for the summer that you would like to shout out about before we get out of here?
Well, so we team up with a wonderful, unbelievably talented local chef, Chef Stacy Lang, and so she runs. Technically, the food truck itself is ours, but she runs it. It's kind of her own business, out of our truck, and so she is there Thursdays at 5 for Curry Thursdays, which is an ever-changing menu of curry inspired foods from all over the world. And then she's there Sunday at 1 p.m. For during the summertime. In November, that changes to 11 a.m. on Sundays. But now it's 1 p.m. outdoors, and most weekends we also have live music outdoors at that time. We like to have a lot of fun. Halloween is our big thing, so we always have a huge Halloween party, music and fire dancers and all that stuff. So I don't know, swing by.
Yeah, fun.
And that means you too, Greg. That means you too. You swing by.
You already know what I feel about y'all. We've been there. I've told you a couple times, outside of this, of course. And in closing, I want to thank Ryan from Brewery Nonic for joining us. But also, y'all, I was gonna say, this is, if y'all, for those who travel between Milwaukee and Madison and up to the Twin Cities, and I know it's a lot of y'all getting on this on the freeway there. Brewery Nonic is not that far off the freeway, y'all, and it's a really nice, wonderful spot. Great takeaway. As you can hear, it's a family spot. It's very welcoming to all people. It's again, there's food there at times. There's events. It's a great community space, and it's a really nice building, y'all. So I mean, it checks off all the boxes. So when y'all are in or near Menomonie, it's definitely a must stop for people who like beer, and a lot of beer that tastes like beer, y'all. Brewery Nonic, from what I know, again, I've only been there once, y'all. Pretty much straight down the line as far as styles go, and not too much fun, not too much funky stuff, if that makes sense. But definitely, definitely solidly made, crisp, wonderful beers, and a wonderful experience and a wonderful place. So, Ryan, shout out to you for everything y'all doing. How old is Brewery Nonic now?
We opened January of 2019. So
y'all are just getting out of the toddler range, but y'all feel older than that, in a good way. Y'all just feel older than that. Like I walked in, I was like, wow, this place has been here 10 years. You're like 6. I was like, oh, okay. So a lot of good work put in there, Ryan. A lot of hard work, I'm sure. And I just wanted to thank you for your time. And hope we'll check in with you in a couple years. But I'm definitely gonna get up there before your 10th anniversary. But I always go to the Twin Cities, so y'all are a must stop there.
Awesome.
Especially, yeah. So thanks, Ryan, again. And I'll give you the last word if you have any.
Thank you very much. I mean, I always appreciate being able to talk about beer and about beer culture and to my fellow beer nerds.
All right. Well, on that note, y'all, thank you for listening to another Badger Beer Report. And I know Ryan will agree with this, but as here at Badger Beer Report, we encourage you to drink local when possible, if possible, and however possible, whenever possible. So cheers to y'all. We'll see you in the next edition of the Brewery Report. Coming up here soon, and also Brewery Spotlight, which we do here pretty often. Thank y'all.